Hey, welcome. Ever have that feeling where you come up with a brilliant solution, put it in place, and then just watch it create a whole new mess of problems down the road? It's so frustrating, right? But it happens all the time. Well, today we're going to dive into a powerful way of thinking that can help us break that cycle for good.
This quote from the great systems thinker Peter Senge. Man, it just nails the problem, doesn't it? Today's problems come from yesterday's solutions. It's this idea that even with the best intentions, we end up going astray. We fix one leak and suddenly another one pops up somewhere totally different, maybe even years later.
So why does this keep happening? I mean, is it just bad luck? Did we mess up the execution? Or, and this is the big question, is there something fundamentally wrong with how we're even approaching problems in the first place?
All right, so to really get to the bottom of this, we first have to take a hard look at our so-called solutions and figure out why they fail so often.
And get this number is, well, it's pretty shocking. According to a ton of research, a staggering 70 to 90% of all the usual planned-out change initiatives, they're considered failures. Just think about that. That is a massive amount of wasted time, money, and just morale.
And this is why. It gets to a really crucial idea from Senge's work. When we don't see the whole system, our solutions don't actually solve anything. They just shift the problem around. The issue disappears from your desk, but it just pops right back up on someone else's, and a lot of the time, it's in a new, even more confusing form.
Okay, so this is where things start to change. If the old way of solving problems is clearly broken, then what's the alternative? Well, the answer is all about shifting our perspective, learning to think in whole systems.
So what even is systems thinking? Well, at its heart, it's about seeing the whole forest, not just the individual trees. Instead of breaking a problem down into tiny little pieces and looking at them one by one, we zoom out. We focus on how all those pieces talk to each other, the interactions, the relationships between them. That's where the magic happens.
And this contrast right here is everything. We're usually taught to think in a straight line, right? A leads to B, which leads to C. Simple, direct. But the real world, it's not like that at all. It's a complex web. An action you take over here can have totally unexpected consequences way over there, all because of connections you didn't even see.
This quote really gets to the heart of it. In breaking them into parts, we lose the very quality that makes them what they are. We lose the relationship between the parts. I mean, think about it. A car isn't just a pile of metal and plastic. A team isn't just a list of names. The real power, the behavior of the whole thing, comes from how all those parts connect. If we only look at the pieces, we miss the entire point.
Okay, so seeing the whole system sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do that? I mean, the world is insanely complex. Well, that's where modeling comes in. It's the tool that lets us put this mindset into practice.
Really, the whole goal here is to make the invisible visible. Systems modeling is all about taking those hidden connections, the feedback loops, the time delays, all the weird, non-obvious stuff, and actually mapping them out. It's like creating a blueprint of the system's DNA so we can finally understand why it acts the way it does.
Let's make this real. Take coastal protection, for example. Now, a city manager might look at this and see a checklist of separate problems. Okay, we can build seawalls, we can enforce some new building codes, and we got to measure the storm surge. Each one feels like its own independent thing to tackle.
But when you look at it through a systems model, you see the real story. Building that seawall might actually encourage more development right behind it, putting even more property at risk. And those stricter building codes, they might drive up costs, which impacts the local economy, which then messes with the tax money you need for beach replenishment. You see? It's all connected in this big, dynamic web. Just look at the difference here. In that simple, linear view, an event happens and it affects a couple of things directly. Boom, done. But in a real system, those effects, they ripple outwards. And then those ripples start to interact with each other, creating these feedback loops that can either calm things down or spin the whole system out of control.
Now, this isn't just about drawing technical diagrams on a whiteboard. This stuff is fundamentally about people. Why? Because we aren't just standing outside the system looking in. No, we are part of the systems we're trying to understand and change.
And this is such a cool and empowering idea. Think about it. Your unique life story, your path, the different jobs you've had, the communities you've been in, all of it gives you a perspective that literally no one else on the planet has. And that point of view, it's not just a personality quirk, it is a genuine gift that you bring to every system you're a part of.
And just listen to this incredible thought from a student who was learning about all this. She said, "I'm their bridge into systems practice. It's like a game of chess. You have to pick your moves, pick your timing." Wow. She realized that her knowledge wasn't just for her. It made her a bridge for other people. It gave her this new responsibility to act strategically, like a chess player, to thoughtfully influence the system from the inside. That totally reframes our role, right? We're not just a passive cog in the machine. We can be active agents of change.
So if we're all potential agents of change, how do we actually make a difference? That question brings us to our final and maybe most important idea for putting all of this into practice.
And here it is. The key. It's called a leverage point. The idea is that in any complex system, not all actions are created equal. Some things you do take a massive amount of effort for very little return, but others, the right actions in the right place, can be tiny, focused, and produce huge, lasting change. The whole point of systems thinking is to find those sweet spots.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. The most powerful leverage points are almost never the obvious ones. They aren't the symptoms that everyone is complaining about. They're usually hidden deep in the system's structure, the unspoken rules, the shared beliefs, the mental models that dictate how everything works. Learning to see those is the real game changer.
And that brings us to a final challenge for you. Think about the systems in your own life, your team at work, your family, your community. Instead of just pushing harder on the obvious problems, ask yourself this: what's the hidden structure that's really driving things? And what is the one small shift that could change everything?